This video will define the grant expenditure period, or the period of time in which you can incur expenses for the AmeriCorps grant, and how member enrollment impacts the monthly fiscal reporting of the grants. And you can locate our grant expenditure period policy in the YouthBuild AmeriCorps Financial Management Manual available on myyouthbuild.org. In order to understand the AmeriCorps grant timeline, you will need to understand the three following definitions: the grant enrollment period, the member service year, and the grant expenditure period. After reviewing these three definitions, I will provide scenarios for how AmeriCorps member enrollment could impact how the program utilizes its AmeriCorps funds for any particular grant year. The grant enrollment period is the one-year period that programs have to enroll their members into slots in their current grant year. The enrollment period always begins on August 15th of the year the grant begins and extends until August 14th of the following year. This means that for the grant year 22-23, the enrollment period goes from August 15th, 2022 and extends until August 14th of 2023. In this example, we have three members that are enrolled in the 22-23 grant year. Even though all three have different enrollment dates, they will always be 22-23 members because those dates fall between August 15th of 2022 and August 14th of 2023. Members will always be enrolled in the grant year that corresponds to the grant enrollment period they were enrolled during. You can think of this enrollment period as the window of time in which members can be enrolled for the 22-23 grant year. Grant enrollment periods will never overlap. Here we see that when August 14th, 2023 rolls over to August 15th of 2023, then the 22-23 enrollment period ends and a new one begins for the new grant year 23-24. Here we see three member cohorts again, only this time the last cohort is enrolled a few days later on August 16th of 2023. Even if it was your intention for these members to all serve in the same grant year, the members enrolled on August 16th will belong to the next grant year. Once one grant enrollment period ends and a new one begins, your ability to fill slots in the previous grant year will cease. So make sure you enroll members on the days they begin their service. Next, let's take a look at the member service year. Members have one calendar year to complete their service term, starting on the day they are enrolled and ending 1 year later. Now let's take a look at the member service years for our three cohorts. Because all three cohorts start on different days, they have different member service years. Here you can see each one beginning on the day they are enrolled and ending 1 full year later. However, it should be noted that while students can use their full service year to finish their service, there are many reasons members can, and often are, exited early. Members can be exited early due to finishing their full service requirements early, leave with a partial ed award, or leave for various circumstances before they finish their service requirements. Here you can see the members of our three cohorts, all three of them exiting earlier than their full year. Another thing to be aware of are suspensions. Suspensions are a period of time where the member ceases their service with the intention of resuming their service at a later date. Suspensions effectively adds the length of the suspension to the end of their member service year. For example, our October 4th, 2022 cohort is suspended for a month from March 1st to April 1st. This means that month of time is added to the end of their service term, extending it to November 3rd of 2023. Suspensions can happen by program design or by unforeseen circumstances in both your programming and the lives of your members. which is why it is important to stay up to date on what your members are doing at your program on a monthly basis. And finally, let's tie it all together with the grant expenditure period. You may be asking what these two programmatic timelines have to do with your financial grant management. The answer is that the dates your members are enrolled determines their member service years, and those member service years determine when you are able to bill expenses to your AmeriCorps grants. We call this period of time the grant expenditure period. We often tell YouthBuild AmeriCorps subgrantees that money follows the members. Your program has 30 days before your first member began their service and extending until 30 days after the final member exits to spend down and to match your AmeriCorps grants. This amount of time is the grant expenditure period. So let's go back to our three cohorts. The first member is enrolled on October 4th, 2022, which means that our grant expenditure period begins 30 days before this date. We grab our calendars, count 30 days back, and see that September 4th, 2022 is the date we can begin billing expenses and matching the AmeriCorps grant. And here we can do the same for our last members. Enrolled on August 11th of 2023, we know their expected exit date is August 10th of 2024. And we can count out 30 days from that, getting our expected end date of our expenditure period, which is September 9th, 2024. However, there are some things to consider here. So remember how we talked about members exiting early? Well, that would affect their exit date, which in turn affects your expenditure period. Here we can see our August 11th, 2023 members exiting early on June 10th, 2024, a full 2 months earlier than their expected exit date. This means that your expenditure period ends 2 months earlier than if they use their full term on July 10th, 2024. Just like how suspensions can extend a member service year, they can also extend our grant expenditure period. In this example, our August 11th, 2023 members are suspended for a month during their service. This means that their exit date is pushed back a month as well, which in turn extends our grant expenditure period a month as well to October 9th, 2024. So because of this, it's important to stay on top of the dates that the members of your program are enrolling and exiting. Member activity and enrollment will be a variable that determines when the program can incur expenses. Because the grant expenditure period is determined by when members enter and exit, it is possible for 2 grant years to overlap. Here we see 2 members, one enrolled in 22-23 on May 1st, 2023, and another in grant year 23-24 on September 1st, 2023. Let's look at how the expenditure periods for these 2 grant years overlap when we take these 2 members into consideration. We can look at the expenditure periods for each member cohort to see where these 2 grant years will overlap. Since we know the expenditure period for our 22-23 members begins on April 1st, 2023, and extends to May 30th, 2024, and the expenditure period for our 23-24 members extends from August 15th, 2023 until September 31st, 2024, we can check when these periods overlap, which is from August 15th, 2023 until May 30th, 2024. And here we can see that the overlap visually the black line being the enrollment period, and the green lines being the expenditure periods. We can see that the lines overlap and that all months contained within this overlap would have reporting required for both grant years. So as members enter the program, they will be joining under different enrollment windows and different grant years. This will require your program to account for each grant year individually, and that spending should align with the activities related to those members. So this means submitting a separate AmeriCorps reimbursement request, or ARR, for each grant year, separate general ledgers, and timesheet codes for each grant year if staff are working on multiple grant years at once. And remember that you can always connect with your YouthBuild AmeriCorps financial manager if you need assistance with determining your expenditure period and how this would impact the monthly fiscal reporting of the grant.